Hi, I'm Diane, and I was telling you a story about my life the other day. Something happened, and I want to share it with you. But first, let me just remind you how it all started. I was raised by my grandmother, Molly, as I always call her affectionately, because mostly she took care of my upbringing instead of my mother. My mother was able to go to work and have a pretty good career. But then, she and my grandmother started fighting. Her babysitting services became unnecessary, and my mother wanted my grandmother to move out. Because of these fights, my Molly ended up in the hospital, and then she was put in a home for the elderly. And I happened to see my mother flirting with her boss, Mr. Bishop, and I even filmed it on my phone. I really wanted Grandma to come home, so I started blackmailing Mom. Either she would hire a nurse for Molly and bring Grandma home, or I would show that video of her flirting to Dad. But Mom packed her bags and left the house, and Grandma suddenly got better. And soon, Dad and I brought her home, and now the three of us live together. And then, yesterday, I ran into Mom at the store, and everything turned upside down again. Before I go any further, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new stories. So, Mom didn't look good. Dark circles under her eyes, sunken cheeks. She usually takes care of herself, of her hair and makeup. And here, I didn't even recognize her right away. Diane, honey, hi. My mom gave me a big hug. Let's go somewhere to sit and talk. I missed you so much. The coffee shop across the street was almost empty. We ordered coffee. The conversation didn't really click. Mom just looked at me and smiled through her tears. I didn't feel comfortable. Suddenly, she started talking really fast. Do not blame me for what happened. I did the right thing. What right thing? My grandmother raised me while you were building your career. And when she wasn't needed, you decided to kick her out. Mom covered her eyes with her hands and started sobbing. You don't know everything, sweetheart. I had to work. We were in debt. We even had to mortgage the house. It was like a cold shower. Listen, come to our place for dinner. And I'll tell you everything, I promise. Come to our place meant I'd have to see Mr. Bishop too. He had divorced his wife, and now he and my mother were moving in together. My mother looked at me pleadingly, and I nodded. The desire to find out what she is going to tell me overcame my disdain for my mother's suitor, who had torn two families apart. They lived in a big luxury house in one of the rich neighborhoods of the city. Mr. Bishop's driver brought me to dinner in a big Jeep. I hadn't told my father or grandmother where I was going, and now I really felt guilty about it. A joyful mother met me at the door. In the living room, shifting from foot to foot, Mr. Bishop looked at me. Travis. He gave me his big hand, lightly squeezing my palm. I noticed that the table was set for 4. I wonder who else will be joining us. I came here for the truth, Mom. I thought I'd make myself clear right away. Tell me everything. And I crossed my arms over my chest, letting them know that I was determined. Travis started nervously pacing the room. Diane, right before you were born, Dad decided to start his own business. Mom's voice trembled. He had big ambitions, but not much experience. He invested all our savings in an old bakery, made repairs there, bought new equipment, took a big loan from the bank for business growth. We dreamed that soon we will please the whole neighborhood with fresh, delicious pastries. Mom suddenly started crying. Travis came over and gave her a caring hug. But there was a fire, and everything burned, Diane. Mr. Bishop continued. Your dad got into debt. Big debts. So Mom had to go to work after you were born. I helped her. I've known her since high school and got her a job. That's why I had to leave you to your grandmother, my dear. I'm sorry. And my mother cried again. Good evening. I'm sorry I'm late. We all turned around at the voice. There was a guy standing in the doorway, maybe a little older than me. Travis nodded at him. Come on in, son. It's okay. So my mom is taking care of someone else's kid? That was too much for me. I ran out of the room and down the long corridor. I couldn't figure out how to get out of the room because I was in tears. There were stairs, a door, and suddenly, I was on the huge moonlit terrace. You shouldn't do that to her. She loves you and cares about you. The guy in the room appeared next to me. I'm Matt if you need me. He gave me a little nod. You better stay out of this. I cut him off. You don't know anything. Diane! Matt turned me sharply toward him. I can see your mom crying at night. You have to forgive her and stop behaving like a little girl. It's been almost a month since then. Now I'm at the airport. We're going on vacation. Mom, Travis, Matt, and me. We bonded with my mom, and now I often have dinner at their house. Matt turned out to be a nice guy, and we became friends. So now I have two families, Dad and Grandma, and Mom and Travis. A bit unusual, but everybody's happy. Hi, my name is Naomi, and I want to tell you my horrible story. My boyfriend and I broke up, all because a new teacher came to our school. So, Mark and I started dating at the beginning of the summer. It was the perfect relationship. We went out together, talked, went to the movies and cafes, spent all the time together, and it seemed that no one could separate us. But the summer holidays ended quickly, and we went to our senior year. I was sure at the time that school would only make our relationship even better. But I was wrong. When chemistry class started, a new teacher, Miss Yang, walked into the classroom. At that moment, all the guys in our class looked at each other and smiled. She was a dazzling beauty with a great figure. At first I thought that with a new teacher, my chemistry lessons would be a lot more interesting than before. But after the first lessons, I began to notice how everything changed. All the boys from our class started learning chemistry and tried to perform their best in her class. Even my boyfriend, who used to pay no attention to his studies and mostly focused on his sports career, suddenly started sitting over his textbooks every night and studying chemistry. As soon as class started and the teacher asked a question, immediately all the guys in our class were reaching out to answer. Then Miss Yang would pick a student and talk sweetly with him. Miss Yang knew the subject pretty well, but I was beginning to hate chemistry. Because now all Mark did was tell me how to solve chemistry homework. I didn't like it, but I tried to ignore it, even though I sometimes was mad at Mark. But once he told me that he was going to be late after school studying in the library and asked me not to wait for him. I ignored that at the time and went home. The next day, Mark became even more cold to me, and he refused to walk me home again because he wanted to stay late at the library. I decided to follow him, but to my surprise, Mark went not to the library, but to the chemistry room. Peeking through the doorway, I was dumbfounded. There was Miss Yang giving my boyfriend private lessons. He was writing and talking and gesturing with his hands. And Miss Yang was smiling back at him. And then they laughed and giggled. It made me terribly angry. I realized that Mark was ignoring me for a reason. And it was all about the new teacher. Now I knew exactly what to do. The next day, I went to the principal's office and told her that our chemistry teacher was acting like a promiscuous woman. I reported about her revealing clothes and that our boys joke about her. I also said that she was flirting with the students, especially Mark. The principal was furious. He called Miss Yang in for a talk. And a couple of hours later, I saw the teacher come out of the office in tears and with the dismissal papers. It was a victory for me. I was really happy to get rid of the competition. But the rumors quickly spread around the school and reached Mark. He was furious. "Why did you do that? You said all kinds of silly things, and now the teacher who knew her subject very well has been fired." Mark said that Miss Yang was a great chemistry teacher, and that he enjoyed the subject so much that he decided to link his life with chemistry. And to improve his knowledge, he asked for extra classes. There could be nothing between him and the teacher, because she loved her job very much and would never risk her reputation for the sake of some schoolboy. And Mark also admitted that he ignored me because he was just tired of studying. But now he didn't want to see me at all. I thought he needed time to forgive me, and in a couple of weeks he'd get over it and we'd be happy again. But it turned out that Mark continued to go to Miss Yang's for extra classes at her house. Sometimes I followed them and saw them kissing goodbye. And I was shocked. So he lied to me? And there is something between them. What should I do? Should I talk to him? Tell his parents? Talk to that teacher? What would you do? Write to me. I really need your advice.